Hi, my name is Will Patterson, and I am a former resource specialist with San Francisco Unified School District. This video series is about the implementation of inclusive practices in SFUSD. The focus is on the history of staffing because staffing levels correlate to student outcomes. The first video explores service delivery prior to 1992. On the right of the screen is a bio of Dr. Arlene Meyerson. At the time this video was recorded, Dr. Meyerson was the directing attorney of the Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund, also known as DREDF. In this clip, she gives an overview of how her work helped move schools toward inclusion.
So when I first started, we were doing cases that had to do with allowing the kids to go from one system, the county system, to the district system. And that was, it was 40 years ago. It continued. Then we started doing cases that had to do with, kids being in special day classes, and then eventually inclusion.
Quickly, let's introduce some key terms. Special education. Special education delivers customized support for students with disabilities, as defined by federal law. And what were the service delivery models that Dr. Meyerson referenced? County schools. These are a separate campus where students with extensive needs receive services. Special day class. This is a classroom in a district school where students received a specialized education. Inclusion. Inclusion is a system wherein students with extensive needs are placed in general education classrooms. The individual education plan is the cornerstone of a student's special education program. It has several key components. Present levels. Once a student is found eligible to receive services, teachers and professionals provide assessment results of the student's skills and academic strengths and weaknesses. Individualized goals. These spell out academic and developmental targets to address unique strengths and areas for growth. Goals set clear benchmarks for progress. Progress reports. These give progress as defined by the goal, measured and reported at least as often as general education students receive progress reports from their general education teachers. Services. These are supports including instruction by a SPED teacher, speech therapy, or physical therapy, provided by qualified professionals. There is some debate about whether paraeducator instruction is a service or an accommodation. Accommodations and modifications. Adjustments to the environment or teaching, like extended time or modified assignments to make learning accessible. And lastly, placement or setting. This refers to the setting where students receive their services. Until 1993, like most school districts nationally, SFUSD had three primary placements or settings. The Resource Specialist Program, where a student who was enrolled in general education classes received pull-out specialized instruction in a resource room. Special day class, mild to moderate, where students were enrolled in that classroom and received almost all of, if not all of their instruction in that classroom. And special day class, moderate to severe, where students were again enrolled in that class and did receive all of their instruction in that class prior to 1993. I should note that there are several other settings or placements or programs and services, things like speech and language, visual impairment, etc. I hope to have addressed these in a later video. The foundation of effective special education lies in the presence of skilled staff, providing the individualized support each student needs to thrive. Let's look at the class sizes and staff ratios for different special education settings. The Resource Specialist Program was a pull-out model primarily providing support in reading, writing, math, and transition planning for college and career readiness. Prior to 1982, resource specialists had caseloads exceeding 28 students. The California Association of Resource Specialists, now CARS Plus, led the charge to enshrine caseload caps in the state's education code. A resource specialist also has one paraeducator to support them. Today, where pure resource specialist programs remain, it is best practices to start the year with a resource specialist having a caseload of 22 to 24 students, as new students will likely be added to the caseload throughout the year. The mild to moderate special day class was a structured classroom setting focused primarily on academic skills tailored to students with mild to moderate support needs. Caseloads were set by union contracts, where paraeducator support was also specified. At times, a student placed in an SDC class would attend a general education classroom, a practice known as mainstreaming, which is different than inclusion. We'll discuss this more in the next video. The classes sometimes counted toward California State University eligibility, and other times did not. They were always geared toward preparing for and meeting high school graduation requirements. The moderate to severe special day class was a highly individualized environment where emphasis was placed on daily living, social, and basic academic skills. Caseloads in the moderate to severe special day class were lower at 6 to 10 students, and there was an additional paraeducator. This was because the emphasis placed on daily living, social skills, and basic academic skills meant that students had far more diverse learning needs and required individualized instruction more frequently. The teacher in a moderate to severe classroom was required to possess a moderate severe credential, which extended their SPED credential to teach in this setting. Students from these classes were almost never allowed to mainstream, even for a simple read aloud or other activities where they could have easily participated. Instead, they were segregated on the campus. In summary, students received special education services outside of general education classrooms, a segregated school system. Before 1993, our educational system was structured in a way that kept students with disabilities largely separated, even though they were no longer on separate campuses. While this represented some progress, by having moved the students to the same campus, segregation remained the opposite of true inclusion. Inclusion and individualized support empower students with diverse learning needs, helping them reach their full potential, but also preparing all students to thrive in a diverse society. It's essential to recognize that all students benefit from learning alongside peers of different abilities, forging friendships, understanding different perspectives, and valuing diversity. Just as racial segregation harms everyone in society, schools that separate students based on ability ultimately limit growth for all. Inclusion, on the other hand, enriches the educational experience for every child, not only those with disabilities. Next, in 1993, parents advocate for students to receive support inside general education classrooms, a beginning to the end of the segregated system.